This is a stage 11 review. I'm going to go over some of the things that you'll have to do on the test, starting with deciding whether we need an accusative or a dative as the object of a verb. As you can see, I have two examples up here. I have Euenus blank salutat, and I have Euenus blank credit. I need to decide which one takes accusative or dative. I do this by remembering which verbs take the dative and which verbs take the accusative. Salutat takes the accusative, so I would have candidatum, and then credit takes the dative, so I select atletai. I need to make sure that I can decide whether it is first conjugation noun that I'm trying to distinguish, whether it's a second conjugation noun or third conjugation noun, because it changes the ending that I need for the dative, and it changes the ending that I need for the accusative. So to be able to determine the difference, I need to remember that I have an us and an o, an e, and an is. These are the nominative and the dative endings of the second declension. I have on I have I and es. These are the nominative and the dative endings for the first declension. And then the third declension doesn't have one for the nominative, es for the plural, and then I for the dative, and ibis for the dative plural. So you need to know those endings for the test so that you can determine whether or not I'm using a nominative, an accusative, or a dative. Oh, I need to put the accusative endings on there. Accusatives are am, as, os, and em and es. Those are the accusative endings. I need to know all of those endings so that it'll help me whenever I'm deciding which case I need to use. You're going to have to know some question words and how to translate them. The ones that we are already aware of are cur, which is why, quis is who, and ubi is where. The new ones for this chapter, we're adding ne to the beginning word, whatever the first word is. So if I ask a question, who are you, I would have tu, and then ace, quis would be used. Quis would be used. But if I say, are you Tom, I'm asking a yes or no question. So I would have Tom, are you Tom, question mark. Because it's a yes or no question, I need to add ne at the beginning of it. If I am dealing with a noum, I'm expecting a no for an answer. I translate as surely not. So if I say, surely you're not Tom, I would have noum, Tom, ace. Surely you're not Tom. Nope, I'm not Tom. Expectation is the no answer. Selecting the correct English translations, also going to be a big part of your test. So here I have, where are the slaves? Ubi sunt servi. It's going to give you three choices, and you have to decide what the difference is between those three choices. Here I have, where are the slaves, who are the slaves, and why are the slaves here? This one's fairly easy if I remember that ubi means where, because it doesn't mean who and it doesn't mean why. I only have one left, and that would be, where are the slaves? English grammar to Latin grammar. He gave the book to me. I need to decide what case to me would be in. Ego is nominative. To me is not the subject, so I'm not going to use ego. Me is accusative. He gave the book. The book is going to be the accusative, so it's not going to be accusative. Me is not going to be accusative. He gave the book to me as an indirect object. To me, indirect object equals the accusative, mihi. Latin grammar also going to be important. This time they're going to give you a word, and they're going to ask you what case the word is, and you have to be able to determine with the sentence, using some context, decide what case the word is. Here I'm asking you what case fratris is in the following sentences. I have it here and I have it here. They both look the same. There is a difference between the two. How can we determine that? Fratris is either nominative plural or accusative plural. We know that from the endings. Remember, we have I, we have and os for the accusative, and then we have o and we have ae and is for the dative in the singular and plural. Then we have us and e, we have and os, and then we have o and es. This one is third declension. So I have the ES that is there, have EM, and then I have the ES that is here. So I have two ESs. They are the nominative and accusative plural. So this one is asking, is this a nominative or is it an accusative plural? Fratris, if it is nominative, needs a plural verb. Errant is a plural verb. So in this case, it's probably the subject, so it would be nominative. Fratris a wheeler vocabit. Here I have a singular verb. I can't have a plural nominative with a singular verb, so I'm going to say that fratris is accusative. Translations for those two sentences: the brothers entered the house, and then he called the brothers from the house. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have a plural verb and a plural accusative. In that case, you would have to be looking for another accusative. Here I have wheelum. I know I have an accusative. This can only be nominative. So make sure you look out for that as well. If there's both accusative and nominative plurals in the sentence, then you're going to have to use context to figure it out. You can also use word order. Characters in the chapters. Make sure that you know this chapter was about politics. So make sure you know author, what kind of candidate was he, what was he offering to his supporters, what actions did he take in the chapter Clemens, what was his role in the political process, Halconius, what kind of candidate was he, who was supporting those candidates, L.S. Pomponianus, who was he, Marcus, who did he support, Mercatorus, who were they in support of, Pastor, same thing, Papaya, who is she, Quartus, and Sulla. Make sure you know who all these people are supporting politically. Make sure you know if they are a candidate, what they were offering, what they were saying, what they were running on, what they were promising. All of those things you need to be aware of. Latin vocab, there's a section on your test that's going to kind of review some of those vocab words that we've had in the past, so you need to know what the words mean. But they're going to ask you, they're going to give you a amici, and they're going to ask you what's a similar Latin word or what is a Latin word that means exactly the opposite. You need to know that amici is friends, vale is goodbye, calidi is clever, and amici is enemy or unfriendly, salve hello, sulti is foolish, feminae is a girl, liberalis, that should be is, let me change that. There we go, liberalis is generous, avare is greedy, weary men, werberats to beat, abets to go away, pulsat to beat, agnosket not to know, ducat to lead away, rapit is to seize, tacit to be quiet, obtulit is to offer, capit is to seize, recumbits to lay down, hospice, friends, ignalis, ignorant. Let's move this over so you can see. Pestis is a pest, homo is a man. That was kind of an interesting interruption there. Tulit is to carry. That's the past tense of Pharaoh. Probably ought to remember our principal parts of Pharaoh, Pharaoh, Pharae, Tuli, and Latus. This comes from that perfect stem of Pharaoh, so to carry. Promissit is to promise, portavit to carry, fecit is to make, and coaxit is to cook. English vocab, also an important aspect of this test. Definitions of these words: a convention is a gathering of people. You see the winio in there, to come, and then co together, come together. Credible is believable. Descend is to go down, from descendo. Favor is to support someone if you have favor for them. We've had utilize here is put to use. Illegible, can't read it. Invitation, that is a request for you to go to something. Liberal is generous. Minimal is something to the least degree. Mural is a wall painting. Placid is quiet. Primary is the first, I guess, the first of something in a series. Promissory contains a promise. Rapture, that is kind of a state of ecstasy. Valedictorian is somebody who gives the farewell speech at a graduation. Cultural terms. You have these terms here that were in your cultural section. You need to make sure that you remember what each of these people are responsible for, or what each one of the the words is when it comes to political process. Adios, they were a pair who supervised public services. The duawiri were a pair responsible for legal matters. Those were the judges. Tutuli were the slogans. Town governing board, you had about 100 people on a board that help run the town. Candidatus, that's the person running for an office. Praetores is going to be their supporters. Praefectus, that's somebody that the emperor would elect to make sure that everything in the government was going well. Divisor is the basically the campaign manager. Vicini is the neighbors that would probably support the candidate, or the supporters of a candidate that lived near him. Okay, who was responsible for managing local government? That would be the town itself. The emperor rarely intervened, only when matters got out of control and they showed that they could not take care of those matters themselves. What was the requirement to run for public office? You had to be an adult Roman citizen. Remember, teenagers and those younger people were considered Roman citizens by birth, but they couldn't vote unless they were adults. How were the members of the town governing board selected? They were not elected. The members of the town governing board were appointed by the governing board itself. How did the Romans treat the electoral process? They took it very, very seriously. It was not something that they were very nonchalant about. They took it seriously. They had extensive campaigns to try to gain favor. When were the slogans written on the walls? They did this at night for the most part. Why? Because the scripters didn't want to get beat up by the opposing candidates or their supporters. It was safer for them to write at night. Who could vote? Again, Roman citizens could vote if they were adult age. Women did not vote, but they did play a lively role in the political process. They would speak on behalf of the candidates. They would help run the campaign for the candidates, etc. What role did the divisor take on? He was the advisor of the candidate. They could go out and act on his behalf. They would distribute the bribes. They would make sure that the scripters were getting their slogans on the walls, etc. Why would the candidates take on political office? They did this for power. They did this for power because they would lose money. Remember, these guys are giving away bribes. They are, promising new roads. They're promising spectacles, gladiatorial fights, plays, etc. So they're losing money when they're running for this, but it did give them a position of power. How and when did the Romans interfere with the local governments? The only time that the central government in Rome would interfere with local politics was if the people could not handle the matters themselves. When were elections held? They were held in March. I'm going to give you a couple opportunities to practice some of the things that you're going to see in the test, some of the formats that you're going to see in the test. These formats are pretty consistent throughout. So I want you to look at 1 through 5, select your answers, and then I'll give you the answers. Here are the answers to these. I'll explain each one. For Marcus, blank salutavit et in atrium venit. Salutavit does not take the dative as an object, it takes the accusative. So I look at Quintus, I decide that it's second declension, and I need an accusative ending, so it's either um or os. Quintus is singular, so I choose B, quintum. In number 2, I have quartus blank spectabat. Spectabat takes the accusative as an object, not the dative. So I look at candidatus, I decide that it is second declension, so I need a um or an os. Candidatus is singular, so I select candidatum for the accusative singular. For number 3, I have fer blank credidit. Credidit is one of those 3 verbs in this chapter that take the dative as an object. So I decide that I'm dealing with a second declension again, so I'm looking for O for my dative ending. So I select C. For number 4, I have mater candido blank non dative. In this case, dative does take an accusative, but it also takes a dative as its indirect object. So here I have to decide whether or not candido is a direct or an indirect object. Candido ends in O, that makes it dative. That means I need an accusative as a direct object. I already have candido as my indirect object. Number 5, again I have dedit. It does take an accusative. It normally will take a dative as its indirect object as well, because if you give something, you give it to someone. Here I have to decide whether or not I have an accusative or a dative. I have wheelon, that is accusative, so the father did not give the house. Now, to whom did he not give the house? To the daughter. I decide that that's first declension. I need to know my first declension dative endings are AE for the singular, IS for the plural. I decide I have one daughter, and so I select AE for my ending. Here's some more practice for you, so hit pause, try to answer some of these, and I'll give you the answers. In the first one, the translation is he gave the book to you all. I have he gave already up there with dative. I have the book with librum, so I'm looking to you all is what I'm needing to translate. I look at nos, that's we, so, and it's nominative, so I'm not going to use that. Nobis is dative and plural, but it's to us, so not going to use that. Tibi is dative and singular, so it's to you. This one's to you all, so I have to use vos for you all. Vos is nominative, not going to use it. I'm going to use the dative vobis because, again, I'm trying to come up with a translation to you all, and 2 or 4 is going to be our dative. In number 2, the translation, we gave money to you. Dedimus already has we gave. Money is already there with pecunium, so I'm trying to translate to you. Circle the wrong one. It needs to be the dative form. Nos is the nominative singular. Nobis is the dative plural, but it means us. So us is, or we as the subject, or to us in the dative. Tibi is to you. That's the singular form of to, so that's why I circled it. It's not vos or vobis because it's not you all. Finally, we have Marcus, Caecilia, Vultum, Dedit. I have 3 translations that are possible. Marcus is the subject of this sentence, so A and B are possible. C is gone because Caecilius is not the subject. It is Caecilio is dative, not nominative. I have Marcus gave. All of them have gave, so all of the A and B are both possible still because we have Marcus gave. Now, what did he give? He gave a look. In A and B, Marcus gave a look, so still don't have a distinction yet. I have Caecilio as the dative, so Marcus gave a look to Caecilius, or Marcus gave Caecilius a look. Marcus gave a look, comma, Caecilius does not match that description, so I select A. The last example on this page is uxor mei est suavis et pulchra mater optima. Again, I have 3 translations. My wife is the subject in all 3 of these, so all of them are still a possibility. Is sweet is the translation for est suavis. They're still all is sweet, so still not, we still haven't distinguished between anything. Et is and, still got ands in all of those. Beautiful, still got beautiful in all of those, so no, can't eliminate any yet. Mater optima, so my wife is sweet and beautiful and the best mother, and a good mother. So my wife is sweet and beautiful, my mother is the best mother. That's not going to work, so A is gone. My wife is sweet and beautiful, comma, the best mother. That's the translation. I select B. My wife is sweet and beautiful, my mother the best. Not working out. Not working out. This is what we call apposition in English. An apposition is whenever I get a word that describes someone further. This is uxor, comma, mater optima. My wife, the best mother. So in English, this would be George Washington, comma, the first president. It's just a little bit more description of the person that we're talking about. Here's some more examples. Look at the first one, hit pause, I'll give you the answer. Okay, I have offer mihi denarios non fustum promissit. I have offer promised to me money, not a club. So offer promised me money, not a fool. That's not what fustus is, it's club. Offer to me money, not a full promise, doesn't even make sense. So those 2 are gone. Offer promised me money, not a club. There it is. D is my answer. The next one, Compiani afro fawent. Select your answer. So hit pause, select your answer, and I'll explain it. In number 2, I have the Pompeians support Offro or favor Offro. Offer. Number 1, it has Offro as the subject. Up here, Offro is the dative, so it can't be the subject. So that one's gone. B, I have the Pompeians, favor offer. That's exactly what the sentence says, so B is my answer. Again, offer is not the subject, so C is gone. The Pompeians are the subject, so the D, trust is the key word. Fraudulent does not mean trust, that would be credit, so D is also gone. D is my answer. Number 3. Again, hit pause, select your answer, I'll explain. What is causing the disturbance in the forum? In our story, there is a disturbance in the forum. It's not caused by gladiatorial games. It's not caused by the unfair treatment of a slave. It's not a merchant fighting with a farmer. That was a different story from before. It is a political campaign. Which of these people are involved in the scuffle? It would be the merchants and the bakers. And what words help spark the ruckus? What are some of the things that they were saying about each other? Furcifor was not involved in that conversation, nor was Stultus and Filius Matri. Asinus was, along with Codex, was his blockhead. So those are some of the things that the merchants and bakers were calling each other. This is from one of those stories. You need to be aware of the stories. If I were you, I would go back and reread those to make sure that you remember A, the characters and what they're doing, who they're supporting, what were they doing to help support those candidates, etc. So go back and look at those stories. Good luck on your test.